Hello, my powerful people, and welcome back to my channel, Purple RX. I'm Renata, your friendly and resourceful PharmD, here to help you navigate this crazy, wild, vast health and wellness world in order for you to get the knowledge you need so you can grow and see what is best for you. Because there is so much information out there, there's so much that they're giving. So please like, share, subscribe, comment, ask a question, whatever you want to talk about, I'm here to talk about it. So today we're going to get into a video changing our views on illicit drugs. So the other day I was scrolling through not Instagram, YouTube. I was strolling through YouTube and I saw a discussion on the Breakfast Club and I was like, oh, let me touch it. And so actually I think I saw it on the Shade Room. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Anyway. So it was this doctor, Dr. Carl Hart, was on there talking about his book, and it was about drug use for adults. And so when he went on, and I watched the whole interview, I really just watched the whole interview recently because I was doing other things, and I was like, okay, give myself some time, and I'm going to watch it. So I finally watched it, and I actually really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the insightfulness, the honesty, the transparency, and the realness of the information that he gave. And I believe that this conversation is so important. I don't really care some of the questions that they asked because it seemed a couple of them seemed very biased. But of course, based on their experience and based on what they see, a lot of people are going to be biased. And that was good that they were there so they could expand the conversation so that he could answer those questions that people don't always see when they're looking at this. And so he has done like studies on drug use for 25 years and 30 years, and he's been a drug user to see the actual effects and see what is really going on. So warning, I am not condoning or telling anybody that it is okay to use drugs or recreational use of narcotics or illicit drugs is okay. I am not condoning that. I am not for that. I don't even advise it. But in this world of choice, in this world of you being an adult and being a grown ass person and being able to decide what you want to do for your, that is up to you and I can't stop it. And the real conversation that we should be having is trying to take basically the taboo of actually people using drugs and looking down upon those people and looking down upon the actual use of it, or that's a bad person, or that's a bad thing. A lot of that needs to be taken away. Decriminalization should be taken away. A lot of that should be taken away. And I am saying this as a person that came from a home of addiction. And the truth about addiction is the drug is not making you addicted. Now, the drug can make your body chemically dependent on it and it need it, but a lot of things can do that. Sugar can do that. A drug is more of a mentality and a mental state that somebody hasn't learned to cope well. They haven't learned to deal with their emotions. Somebody hasn't learned to deal with something. And instead of dealing with it or diving deep, they have relied on a substance to help get them through. They have relied on something to help them escape instead of actually coming forth and dealing with it. And that's something that we need to look at as in separating addiction from the actual drug. Because there are not only drug addicts, there are addicts that are addicted to shopping, addicted to work, addicted to sex. And those people are breaking apart homes and hurting other people with other diseases, like bringing around STDs and other diseases. So we need to go ahead and separate that right now, because a drug does not so much make you addicted. It can make your body chemically dependent on it and say, hey, I've got new receptors. I'm ready for this. I need some more because I got receptors out and they're ready to catch it. That's basically what your body is saying when it's chemically dependent. It's like, there's receptors here. I need some of that. People become dependent on nicotine. That's more of a chemical dependence. Yes, some people need the hand to mouth sensation and some people like cigarettes because it calms their nerves or they have anxiety. But there's also these nicotine receptors within your brain, within your body that's saying, hey, I need this nicotine. I need a fix. I need a fix right now. So we have to really look at what addiction is and what we are trying to put the blame on. Because like I said, I was a child that my mom put me in Alateen. She went to Al-Anon, so we had to all go through these things to see what it was really about. And in Alateen and Al-Anon, They don't teach you about drugs. They don't talk to you about drugs, alcohol, cocaine, none of that at all. They don't talk to you about anything. It is just more of a support group to help support you, to teach you to learn how to cope, to know that what behaviors come with that, what behaviors, and also if you're a family member, of how to set boundaries, how to know when is not enough, how to not become codependent with that person and help them keep going along on their own trajectory to using that or getting in that addiction, how to back away from it and not be a part of it. Being codependent, you could be a part of them having continuing on that addiction or playing into that. So, and I'm not saying you're to blame for the addiction. I'm saying there is this codependent relationship. Because you may cover up for this person is going to continue to do this. Because you don't set boundaries and make that person responsible for what they should be doing, what they're supposed to be doing, or what they say they're going to do. Basically setting boundaries. And if somebody doesn't come up to that boundary, you trying to cover up to make yourself and your family look better. Drugs have been have caused our community to tear down, caused our community. And it wasn't so much just the drug. It was the drug. Yes, the drug has torn us down, but there was also things that they were already trying to do in our community to tear us down. And then the taboo of you being a drug addict and you having a member of your family that's a drug addict made it seem like you don't have it together when nobody really has it together. Who has it all together? You don't have it together. It's going to be in your family. Your kids got to do this, that, and this. But really and truly, nobody really knew what was going on, and nobody really knew the real depths of addiction and what addiction looked like. And addiction didn't look like a drug. Addiction didn't look like cocaine or heroin or crack. They became really chemically dependent on it. I have seen multiple people. I've known so many people who have done drugs and they're no longer on it. I know some people who are still on it. But one thing in this life of adults and drugs and addiction, all addictions affect people. And people can be, like I said, people can be addicted to anything. So all addictions affect people. So what we really need to look at is not just the addiction in this, but talk about the drugs. It's affected our neighborhood, not just from the addiction standpoint, because the thing about it is, in our neighborhoods, we didn't have a lot of therapy, a lot of coping with our feelings. It was a lot of push it on, push it along. It doesn't matter how much you have on your back, keep going and just deal. That was our philosophy. That was our neighborhood. And that's how things had. And if you speak to a lot of these people that had addictions and that have torn families apart, they will probably tell you the pressures that they felt, the issues that they had, and not knowing how to deal with it or how to cope with it, or not being able to speak with somebody to understand depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, or bipolar. A lot of those patients are on drugs because they're trying to cope and trying to deal. Drugs are just a coping mechanism. They aren't the addiction. So this was such a great, I will actually put the link to the actual interview on down below, but that's something we really need to keep talking about. I think at this point, drugs should be decriminalized. There should be more transparency and information in drug use in order for people who choose to do it, because I not do it. We can do a say no to drugs campaign, but love you, Nancy Reagan, but how well did that help? I don't know about loving Nancy Reagan. I didn't really know. But how well did that help? How well did that help? And how can you, as a government, say no to drugs, but you're a part of infiltrating it into our neighborhoods and into our cities and into our stuff, so you can get funding and money in another way, in another part, from another place? That's another story. But decriminalizing drugs will take that taboo away. It will allow people who really want to get help, but who are scared to be judged and to be looked down upon or looked like poorly at, to actually get help. Because a lot of people don't get help in a lot of ways. Poor people sometimes don't get help with needing money because they feel they're going to be looked down upon, like, woe is me. They don't want to do that. A lot of people who can't read won't tell you they can't read because they don't want to be looked down upon or judged. And judgment sometimes can be worse It doesn't allow a person to come to you and find some place that is open in order for them to get whatever their issue is taken care of and met, and all those needs met. Because we are here to help each other and to have one another's back. As much as it seems like we're not, we are. We're here to, we didn't get put on this earth for ourselves. We got put on this earth to help and to be a blessing and to be a light and hopefully to spread the knowledge that we know to other people. So how do we change this look and change our view on it? Like I said, one, we should decriminalize it. Why are people getting crimes and petty crimes? They took away the ones from marijuana, take it away from crack, cocaine. That hurt that household. But again, that was a choice. And I'm not saying keep hurting those households. But when you decriminalize it, and I think another thing he suggested was testing illicit drugs, that makes sure that that people that are getting it on the street are getting it from a reputable source, somebody that has a better drug. They're not getting fentanyl instead of something else, or they're not getting ecstasy mixed with a whole bunch of other things that sometimes ecstasy is mixed with. Because if you get your drug tested, then you're more guaranteed to do it safely and not overdose, or not get in a situation where you have deteriorated body because you've overdosed. Don't get me wrong, drugs will wear you down and tear you down, because the way your system works is sometimes they can stay in your system longer than the effects actually do. So that is where it wears down your body in a lot of these drugs. So testing illicit drugs is important, and having testing centers. Turn those labs that we have, turn those labs, what is it? LabCorp, all those labs, let them have a testing site, a testing facility where you come and test your drugs and see if it's okay and see if that's good. That will keep people safer. Also, give out knowledge. Doctors should be okay with giving out real and full knowledge on illicit, honest with it. Some of the illicit drugs on the street, heroin, opium, those are basically the same thing. Adderall, methamphetamine, meth, same thing. A lot of these things that they have on the street are the same drugs that you get in a pharmacy. So we should be making sure that when somebody says, hey, doc, I've been taking this, that doctor shouldn't judge and be like, okay, when you're doing that and you're taking this, you're making your effects worse. Also, your best bet in order to not harm yourself is to no longer take drugs. If you need a treatment center, I have suggestions. Here's some information about it. This is what you go. But again, getting off drugs is a choice, and we can't make anybody do it. And everybody's going to do what they want to do, just like sex. Back in the day, what did they say? Abstinence. They only preached abstinence for so long. And then when some people started coming out giving condoms and giving all that information, they were like, oh, blasphemy. But it's like, really, is it blasphemy? We can't control anybody. We can put out one message, but putting out one message to me is very irresponsible. It's very irresponsible, because you're just saying, I'm only going to deal with one side. I'm not going to deal with the whole side, which is the whole truth. And we as America have to stop giving out half truths. That's kind of what we've been based on. Oh no, slavery is done. There's no discrimination. Those are half truths. We like to cover some things up and then put the other stuff out. Oh, this is the message we stop. That's what we have to stop doing as a country and as people. We have to stop making things so bad and so horrible. And because somebody does this, they're a horrible person. And like I said, I grew up in a household of addiction and drugs. And I thought that from the beginning. And then as I got older and as I learned more and as I looked at other people, and I'm like, well, that person isn't addicted, and that person's done this and they haven't been addicted. That person. So addiction really isn't the drug. It's more of the mentality of that person and what they haven't learned to deal with or have learned to deal with. And if we talk about these things more, we will start getting things of testing illicit drugs and decriminalizing it so that our people can stay out of jail and stay out of prison for small reasons. And we can reallocate that money to better places, to better education, to better care, as in not just health care, because we have enough clinics on the corner, but where we're getting access to healthier foods and better foods, as well as better use and proper treatment centers and better treatment centers, because some treatment centers are here, let's give you a drug and go, instead of let's get real therapy and deal with your real issues. And we can no longer do that. And it'll also probably decrease if we put this information out, it will decrease emergency room costs. It'll decrease emergency room visits for some people that really don't need it when other people are in real more dire need of it. And I'm not saying somebody who has OD doesn't need it, but some people are ODing because they don't know the information and they're just doing something, and it could be their first time and they got it from a friend or this, that, and this, and they don't know either how it harms your body or what it's supposed to look like or what it is. So I just came on here to talk a little bit about that. Please go check out the interview. Please start this discussion on really changing our views of how we see illicit drugs and narcotics, especially when those illicit drugs and narcotics are the same illicit drugs and narcotics in pharmacy. Yes, they are prescribed, but some prescribers aren't the best people to be prescribing those drugs. Some people are just handing them out like candy just as well. They're just like drug dealers. They're just as bad as drug dealers in the street because they're writing prescriptions like nobody's business, and then allowing these people to take this and promethazine and other things all combined. And so that's why it should be more put on regulated, that if you do, there should be a deeper regulation and more testing and more information of these are things you shouldn't mix. These are things that need to be looked at. It'll be a process, but the process is already started. I think Oregon was one that decriminalized all drugs, and people that see this in the Black community, just give it one thought and once over. Really talk to people who are from homes of addiction, who the family has been in recovery, who the family has gotten help, or who's somebody who's gotten off of a drug or doesn't do that drug any longer. Talk to those families and talk to see if were you addicted or you just got off it because you wanted to get off. Because I know some people that did. And I know some people that were truly addicted. And then there's, again, the difference between addiction, chemical dependence, because addiction is a mental state. Chemical dependence has to do with what your body is chemically needing and what your body chemically wants, and what your body is saying, hey, I need this. I've had it before. It's making me hype. I need it. Same thing happens with sugar. Sugar reacts in your body just like cocaine. So if my body is like, hey, I want some more sugar. Kids are addicted to sugar now. Or their body is dependent on sugar or caffeine, or I need to have caffeine or something every day because it gives me this feeling to not have to deal with or have to wake myself up. Something else can do it for me because I haven't found other ways. Maybe hydration sometimes. But anyway, that's for another discussion. So in another video, I'm going to dive into really tips and tricks in safe use of drugs, of illicit drugs, the signs of ODing, and what you can do if a friend or a family member's ODing or you come in contact with somebody like that. Those are important things that we should know. We should know those as individuals. Should know that as a community so that we can help one another. We should know where centers are, how to really get help. And even if we don't get help, again, how to use it safely, how to deal with it safely and what not to mix and what not to put together, because that can be a bigger incident. That could be a bigger situation where more and more people die. Like some people were dying. There was a bunch of people dying because they thought they were taking heroin and it was a bunch of fentanyl. And again, this shouldn't be just because of privilege or because of insert. Starting to see this should have been happening a long time ago, but now of course they want to remove the taboo because Caucasians are getting caught up in opioids. And this should have gone on a long time ago. We shouldn't have had a taboo within our community. But I thank you guys for listening, for taking your time to listen to this. I know this is a deeper conversation, but I'm just wanting to get it in, get started, so you guys can really even just touch on it and see what your ideas are and do some research and do some thoughts. Like I said, I'll be having another video in continuation with this. I don't know if it'll be right after because I have a few more videos. Thank you guys again for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you guys want to talk about next time and what else you guys want to have a discussion about. Because remember, if you don't know, you won't grow. Knowledge is power, and we need to put the power back into our own hands so we can make the proper choices for ourselves. Thank you guys.